In case you're wondering, yes, I'm a girl. Look at these pretty nails, right? But I do remember the day that I finally realized, like I stopped saying, there was a time when I was asked once, like, who are you, right? Who is Lisa? Well, you know, I'm a girl, I'm a daughter, I'm not a wife anymore, and I'm not a mother, but I was a yogi. And then I started to define myself as an amputee. I'm Lisa, you know, the amputee, you know. The day that I realized that I was still me, like I still was me, was a really big day. So my name is Lisa Ofsie, and I'm living here in Boynton Beach. I moved down to South Florida from most recently New York about 10 years ago, and lived in Boynton, Delray, and now I'm back in Boynton Beach again. I loved yoga, and I've been practicing pretty consistently, I would say, over the last, say, 8 years. And most recently practicing, I had a 6-day-a-week Ashtanga yoga practice, which is a pretty intense self-guided practice. And I was approaching my 55th birthday and just in the best shape of my life. And then this happened. But going back to the yoga, just the idea of yoga and that being on the mat and just the breath and the movement is in a time when, you know, everything is going so quickly out in the world. It's just so nice to disconnect and get on your mat and just breathe and move, you know? And so I really enjoyed that. And then one day I was in practice and I had this horrible pain. And I guess that was the beginning of, you know, the 5 months that got me to this place. After the original feeling that I had in my leg, I knew something was wrong. And I went home. I tried to make an appointment with a doctor. I didn't know what doctor, but a doctor. And they made an appointment for me a month from that date. And I thought, all right, well, in a month I'll go see a doctor. I probably wouldn't be here today if I waited a month. But I spoke to a girlfriend of mine and she said, you know, Lisa, with your history, because I do have a history of circulation problems since I was a teenager, and I had had bypass surgery on this same leg when I was 30, she said, with your history, I would go to the emergency room. And I thought, oh, well, that's a novel idea. And I went to the emergency room, and that was like the first of my 5 admissions into the hospital. And 3 procedures and 2 amputations. First below the knee in September of 2017, and then ultimately above the knee in November of 2017. And I think the worst part in terms of the pain was before my amputation, because by then my foot was not getting any blood flow to it, and my toes were purple and white and black, and that was very painful. And really, the pain meds didn't seem to touch that kind of pain. But anyway, go into the hospital. Once the below-the-knee amputation happened, there was a lot of pain because I wasn't healing properly, because there was still no blood flow getting from here, to below the knee. So that's when my surgeon kind of threw his hands up and said, I don't know what to do anymore. And he sent in a pain management doctor who proceeded to overprescribe all kinds of stuff. I don't even know. So, as soon as I got out after this amputation, I decided that I can't function, and live like this on pain meds all the time. So first I took myself off of some of the medication on my own, just kind of weaned myself off, and then went to see a new pain management doctor because I think the one that I originally had was very much a quack. So I went to a different doctor, and he took me off a couple of narcotics right away. And then I had a couple more that he was going to wean me off of the next month, and I decided just to do it on my own. Once they took my knee and I became an above-knee amputee, the pain from what was happening below and the lack of circulation below the knee was gone. Then I had to wake up and see that I now no longer had a leg below the knee. I could no longer sit on the floor cross-legged. I couldn't cross this leg over this leg. No longer can I hook my knee. So, yeah, it's an emotional thing. It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror. I'm a girl, I'm vain. Now I have to look at myself. I always had things that I didn't like about my physical being, And now I'm looking at myself and I do not have a leg below the knee. So, oh my God. So I don't really know the timeline of when, I was able to look at it without crying or without thinking, okay, now what am I going to do? What's my new normal? What's my new life going to be like? How am I going to walk? How am I going to drive? Am I going to ever work again? How can I do yoga again? All these questions that basically they take your leg. And after my above-knee amputation, that was my shortest hospital stay. It was only 5 days, whereas I had been in the hospital as much as 13 days at a time over a 5-month period. They say, all right, we took your leg. 5 days later, show them that I can move around on a walker. And they say, here's your walker. It's $35, but we're charging you $200. Have a nice day. And they send you home. And, you don't go home, get a leg, and start walking. It doesn't work that way. So you go home, and you have a lot of time to sit around and think and look at your new body and think, shit. I'm 55 years old, and oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. I've been in such a good place lately, It's like revisiting that time. It was a very emotional time. I cried every day. A month after surgery, I was fortunate enough to meet through the Ashtanga community, this Ashtanga teacher up in upstate New York, who's a below-knee amputee, and she continues to have a daily practice. So I was introduced to her, and I was able to Skype with her and get back on my mat a month after my surgery. So I did not have a leg, and I rolled out my mat and I put up a little camera, and she walked me through my first sun salutation, and I stood next to a chair because when you're standing with one leg, and in that yoga practice your feet are together a lot, and if you put your feet together and you haven't worked on it, you just fall over. So I worked with her on the sun salutations, and then I had my my then yoga teacher from Yoga Path Palm Beach, Angelique, came over and worked with me on kind of creating the shapes of the postures, because I can't do a warrior pose with my right leg in the front. I don't have one, right? So maybe I used a stool or something to place my right residual limb on, and I'd be able to sort of get into a position. Or she showed me some ways that we could do it on the floor, but to get into the shape, you know, which I couldn't see what it looked like, but she was able to help me with that. And then that's when she suggested perhaps I bring that limb out to the side to give me some balance, you know? So getting back on the mat was like both an amazing experience. So for a while I was like kind of into my practice again, and also very sad, because every time I'd get on my mat, I would think, this is not, you know, my practice isn't going to be the same ever again. Samantha, the first teacher that I worked with after my amputation, she did yoga from her hospital bed. You know, you can inhale and raise the arms up, and exhale, fold, and just that it's like a moving meditation, you know, when you inhale and exhale with a movement, you know, and you can do it. You can make it work, you know. You just have to kind of figure out what works for you. I believe that everything happens for a reason, you know. So I still don't know what that reason is, although things have occurred. And I thought, oh, wow, maybe that's why this happened. You know, I was here to help a very good friend of mine who just has gone through this same thing, which is so unbelievable, because I didn't know any amputees growing up, and until I became an amputee, I didn't know anybody that was an amputee. And then somebody who was in like my childhood circle, and somebody who was like there with me through these 2 years. She doesn't live here, but she has been involved in my life for the last 2 years. Very supportive, great friend. And over the last 2 months, she started to have, you know, a problem with her leg, and ultimately, like unbelievably, has become an above-knee amputee like me, which is just so, like, unbelievable. She saw the struggles. She saw the obstacles. So I would imagine that the fear factor there was quite high. But I think that one of the things that I feel I've been able to do, hopefully, I don't know, you'd have to talk to her, but I would like to think that I've been able to share with her, you know, 2 years later, how good it can be and will be. You know, that she's where she is now. She's not going to be here tomorrow, but she will be here, and she will be okay. You know, I didn't know that I was going to be okay. I mean, they have peer sponsors through the Amputee Coalition, and to me, a peer means somebody that's kind of similar to you, whether it be like a woman or somebody my age or somebody physically fit, because I was a physically fit person. And my peer sponsor was a 70-something-year-old man who lost his leg to diabetes. And when I finally decided to reach out and call him, he said something to me like, it's just a leg. And I said, okay, thank you. And he proceeded to say, I'll come visit you in the hospital. I'm like, that's okay. I'm a girl. I want someone that knows, you know, the vanity that we deal with, you know, the fact that we like to look nice. How am I going to wear my skinny jeans again? Will I ever wear heels, you know? So for the first year, I had to have my fake nails done. I didn't get the eyelashes, but, you know, I felt very unfeminine, only to find out a year later that I'm still me. I found myself sitting on this couch one week by myself, alone, and I just was sitting here and thinking, and nobody was coming by. You know, it's kind of like when somebody dies, people go visit the widow, and spend a lot of time there. And then eventually, 2 weeks later, they go their way and the person is left by themselves, right? It's kind of the same thing. People see you got your leg. Okay, Lisa's all right. She got her leg. No, that's when the journey really begins. I have to learn to walk, drive a car with my left leg, just everything, do everything. So I was sitting here doing nothing for a whole week, like probably hadn't even been out of the house. And I thought, this isn't why this happened. Like, this can't be my life. Like, I'm meant to do something greater than this. So I thought, what can I do? And I was looking for something that resonated with me. I had seen like different amputee inspired like t-shirts and things, and they were like very maybe geared more towards the men amputees, right? So I was looking for something cute. This is good because it's pink and, I'm a girl, in case you guys didn't know. And so I decided I was going to create this line of shirts and not just sell them, but sell them and donate some of the profits to different amputee organizations to help other people that maybe can't afford a leg or whatever it may be. I just went out. I didn't have to have like, how am I going to do this? I didn't have to have all the stuff, all my ducks in a row. I just came up with what I wanted to put on the shirts. And this was one of them, lost a limb, gained perspective, because, really, it changes your perspective on everything. Little things that you never thought, you would have to do differently are now done differently. And again, people see you with the leg and they just kind of assume everything's cool. She just gets up, throws the leg on, and I'm like running marathons. It's not like that, I still struggle some days to get it on properly or all the way, or, I'm sweating and it's like, it's just uncomfortable. And so I took my initials, LBO, and I just started writing words down on a piece of paper to come up with something. And eventually I stumbled onto Living Beyond Obstacles, Lisa Ofsie. And it actually, looking back now and after my first set of shirts, realizing that not everybody's an amputee and not everybody's going to want to wear something that says I lost a limb, I kind of moved over to more like inspirational sayings. And really what Living Beyond Obstacles means to me is that everybody has some obstacle in their life. Everybody faces obstacles. Everyone has challenges. In fact, you look at somebody and you think everything's great, but oh wow, I just met a woman the other day that lost her fiance in Iraq. And then the other woman lost her daughter. And when you look at them, you don't see that. But when you look at me, yes, you see this. So I feel like perhaps that's what this was all about, to either teach me that everybody is going through something and that maybe we should all be a little kinder, right, and empathetic. But so that's kind of how it came to be. So I did my first run of shirts, I took pictures, and I created an Instagram page and sent some out to some people I knew, and then some people I know have purchased them to support me because they just like the idea of what I'm doing. And that batch went, and then I kind of moved on to the next batch. So one of my shirts says, "What's your excuse?" And so when I'm at the gym and I'm working out and somebody, in fact, a guy walked over to me one day, an older gentleman, and he said, "Oh, I got to tell you, I just was having a rough day," and I'm thinking, I don't really want to do this. And then I saw you over here. And so if that is inspiring to somebody else, bring it on. I'll take it. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.